hello, 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 hello. So, right as we're getting ready to come on Facebook, what are you guys doing over there? I have no idea. Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. Every time I try to set it up where Facebook can just come on in and be with us, that will not be happening at Facebook. They be like, nope, we're just going to come out the last minute. Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug, and I'm here with the Business Plugs Mixer. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and tell your friend, tell whoever you need to know about this conversation. They're going to want to lean into these love conversations that my girl Heather Criswell has. But before we go there, let me do my housekeeping. So if you are a business looking to get certified, I am helping minorities and women get certified for government contracting and helping them to understand what that's like. We're talking about getting businesses lined up to make them fundable so that you can get the funds you need in order to expand your business in the way that you desire. If you're interested in that, the link is wherever you're watching this. Go ahead and schedule an appointment and let's get your business certified. That's what we're doing. Now, with that out of the way, that's going to help all my people say, yeah, Linda, you did a good job. That's the part they're interested in. The other part is I get to introduce you to Heather Criswell. I get to introduce you to my new friend. So, Heather, welcome to the Business Plugs Mixer. Please tell them who you are.
Thank you so much, Linda, for having me. And I love your intro because I was like all dancing and getting into it over here. So I was happy to be here. My name is Heather Criswell. I am the founder of the Conversation Academy, where we believe that one conversation can change your life. And this may be the conversation that changes your life today. And I'm super excited to be here because we met, and I call them divine breadcrumbs that come along. And Linda was one of those divine breadcrumbs for me that I just met her and instantly fell in love with her mission and vision and what she's doing on this planet. And so grateful to be a part of it here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for your yes for coming. So tell them, what is the Conversation Academy?
So the Conversation Academy is a place where people can come online, in person, virtually with me to have conversations that elevate and change your life. So that conversation can be most of the time challenging conversations. I am needing to get a divorce. I want to get a promotion. I don't know how to have this conversation. I don't know how to have the conversation with my friend that this just isn't working out in business. I don't know how to have the conversation with a client of, something that we need to have happen between us. And so it's really giving people the scripts and the skill set to have these conversations from your heart and really express yourself in a way that is true to you and is not arguable in any way, shape, or form. And so we take these skill sets and we put them in place so that people can't argue with you. Because when you're true, when you're clear, when you're authentic, there's no argument. This is how it is or isn't. And what are we going to do about that? So I do, while I do a lot of workshops, I do speaking. So I do a lot of speaking for corporations or really small businesses bring me in to help build those communication skills within. And on the rare occasion, I also do, if somebody really just needs a one-on-one consultation, I do those as well, although they're very sparse because just life,
Life.
But yeah, that's really what I would like a brick and mortar at some point in time, but that's not on the table right in this moment. So most of the time it's just virtual and me traveling, either virtually traveling or physically traveling to those places to speak.
So how did you get to be, how did this become the thing for you?
Well, I have been in business since I've been doing business, if you will, since I was 12 years old, but I opened my preschool. I had a preschool when I was 21. I opened a preschool and was in business for nearly a decade with that. Got super tired, but the school taught me so much. Our children are super communicators on this planet. They are the ones that speak their truth. They're authentic. not manipulative. I'm talking young, not necessarily older.
Yeah. Unjaded.
Not they're not jaded yet, but your 2, 3, 4 year olds, they have no qualms with saying, when you say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," they say, "I know," and
I love it.
they have no problem.
I
It's
love
that
it.
when we get older, we start taking those filters out and
Mm,
replacing them. And so, oftentimes we say we need to teach our kids how to communicate. Our kids know how to communicate. We need to give them skill set in order to do it in a socially acceptable way. You
yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
so, but we can learn a lot from those kids. But over time, I had worked with over 30,000 kids by that time for quite some time. And so I got super tired and I opened a wellness center where we did massage therapy, we did Japanese acupuncture, and a lot of quiet inner conversations that we have with ourselves. That was the space that really nurtured that. So I got the kids that were all outward, like, "Miss Heather, why are your legs bigger than my mommy's?"
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
then,
those fun conversations. Can I tell you, I was one of those kids. If I
yeah,
had questions, I was gonna ask my questions. My mom had to quieten me down.
yes. And that's how we come on this planet. We're curious.
Yeah.
We're excited. And that's the difference. And that's what I do my best to ignite back into people is that curiosity. But owning the wellness center gave me the opportunity to reflect within and to have those conversations within of what am I wanting here? What does that look like? What's the energy I'm bringing to this? What's my action that I'm going to do here? And then after I sold that business and I opened kind of online, if you will, and I created some games to help families to connect emotionally through conversation. I now have launched another program for schools, and it's a conversation station for the schools so that kids can practice these skill sets early on because we
Mhm.
want our kids to make mistakes. We want them to mess up. We want them to have all of these horrific experiences with us so that we can help guide them and and encourage them and remind them who they are. And
Absolutely.
we have that ability at a young age, but once they're grown, they're on their own,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want them to have these experiences and give them the tool set because we need to have conversations now more than ever. More
Mm.
than ever on this planet, we are divided, and we as people need to come together as whole, as a community, and be able to have a conversation and not call it bullying and not call it you're wrong or disrespectful just because we have differences of opinion. Differences of opinion are okay.
They're okay. And I have found that some of my most growing conversations, the ones that I actually grow, are the ones where I'm willing to listen to another person's perspective.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, we are coming from our own frames of reference. And when people aren't open to new ideas or new trains of thought, then you just, there's an arrogance in that my way of thinking is the only way to think, and that's not necessarily true.
It is not. And when we cross religions, when we cross
Mm,
politics, when we cross race, we give ourselves the opportunity to connect to each other in a different way. I have a friend, very dear friend of mine that's African American, and I look at her and I say, I don't understand. And
mm,
she knows that I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I need to more information to understand because then I can be conscious, then I can be aware, then I can be myself authentically without feeling like, oh my gosh, did I make a mistake? Oh, uh, uh,
yeah, yeah,
which is not true to me.
yeah.
And so we give each other grace in that space. And she goes, no, no, that's not how this works. And let me tell you why. And I don't go, well, you're being disrespectful and rude to me. And she doesn't say to me, well, you're being disrespectful and rude to me. We just have an understanding that we're here to connect in a heart space. And if we say something that might be offensive or unkind to that other person and we're not aware of it, we go, she'll look at me, she goes, you might not want to say that, and here's why. And I'm like, oh, I never
Yeah,
really thought about it that way.
absolutely.
And I say to her something, I'm like, well, what about this? And she'll be like, God, I never really thought about it that way. And so we have these real conversations that matter, that
It matters.
change the trajectory of our existence and become this ripple effect, because she has 3 children, I have a child, and they overhear these conversations and they know that we're in a space of love.
Yeah,
And so that ripple effect continues.
absolutely. I think that that is great what you're doing, because so many times as adults, and so many adults are not expressive in a way that's conducive of growing a relationship, right? There, I'm right, you're right, I'm wrong, you're right, all that back and forth and things. And I still refuse to believe that it's a polar opposites. I believe that there is a median where what you bring to the table, what I bring to the table, if we can get through the egos of that, then we can have a relationship that benefits not just us, but those around us as well.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. Sometimes it's not always about race, religion, or politics. It's not always
No,
about that.
no.
But sometimes I'll be talking to somebody and she goes, "Girl, fix your face." And I'm like, "Oh, because my face is saying a different story than my mouth, right?" You know? So we have those moments together that are really beautiful. And I am so appreciative of that. And if we didn't celebrate the differences in us, and we don't agree on every single thing, we absolutely do not agree.
And it's okay.
It's fine. We're
It's
still
okay.
besties of besties, and we still are living our lives, and we still honor and appreciate and value each other.
I love that. And that's the thing. That is a safe space. I had a situation where I was on this committee, and a lot of things, like, even though people say, well, we're all the same and we're all one and we're all this, there are cultural differences between us. There just are.
Absolutely.
Depending on who raised you and where you were raised, your thinking is going to mirror your environment. And another person, same age, same whatever, in another space will have a difference of how they feel about a situation. And so the hard conversations, though, the ones that people avoid because they can't enter that space without getting heated, like those are where we as adults, I'm a great grandmama, so as adults, we don't do those well.
Yeah.
We don't do those conversations well, and we need to do them well because
That's that's the point of the Conversation Academy right there. We need to do them well.
yeah, because I truly believe when adults talk it out, they can work it out.
Yeah.
Like I say that all the time. If they can talk it out, they can work it out, because a lot of times it's just misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And I don't, I
100%.
just choose to believe that people are, for the most part, good people who struggle sometimes to show that goodness.
I say this all the time. This is one of my signature things. There is not a baby that comes out on this planet that we walk into that hospital and we hold that baby and say, God, this is just pure evil. Like this one, it's going to be the devil incarnated. We never say that.
No,
Ever.
no.
Babies are 100%. Look at that magic. Look at that
Hmm.
beauty. Look at that
Hmm.
wonder. Look at that miracle of life.
Yeah,
That's how we come on this planet. Every
yeah,
single one of us have
yeah.
come on this planet in that space. And our environments change that experience
Our
very quickly
environments, yeah,
sometimes,
they
you
do.
know, but we all have the human potential of greatness because we're born in greatness. We
And
are
that's
born in
yeah,
greatness.
and that's the thing that I like helping people to see is the greatness that's in them. Because I hear grown men and women who say, well, my teacher or my coach or my father or mother or whomever said I'd never amount to anything, or that I couldn't do this thing and be brilliant. Like I'm meeting them and they're like doing all these mind-blowing things. I'm like, why do you not do this as a career? Oh, when I went to school, somebody that I loved, somebody who I trusted with me, told me I could never do it. And it's earth crushing.
It
It
is.
is
It's not the
very,
truth.
it's not. It's
Not
not.
the
But
truth.
then the whole life, their whole lifestyle went a different way simply because they were told they were not enough.
Well, and I will tell you, like we have those stories, and God bless my mother, and she's no longer on this planet physically, but in the moment, I was born and raised in the South, and I was back in the 70s, and I was overweight, and there weren't a lot of overweight kids back then. There just wasn't. It just wasn't a
Mm,
thing. And certainly not where I was raised.
mm,
I was the abnormal one. And the kids tortured me. I mean,
mm.
there's one in particular, he would torture me every day of my life, getting on the school bus, all through school, on the school bus ride home, every single day. And one day I went home and I was like, it's just not worth it. This is terrible. It's a horrible way to live. And mind you, this was in 1980,
Mm.
which we didn't have social media. We didn't have all the horrific things that even these kids are enduring now.
Right, right.
Where when I got off the school bus, the bullying ended until the next day,
Yeah,
where now it doesn't end.
exactly.
It just pretty much amplifies. But I
Hmm.
went home and one conversation changed my life. My mom looked at me and she knew something was wrong. And I just went to my room and I wanted to just kill myself. I did. I wanted to say enough is enough, because when you endure real bullying, I'm not talking about disagreements. I'm talking
Right.
about a kid just torturing you all day long.
Yeah.
When you endure that every day for year after
Mhm.
year after year, it just piles.
It does.
And my mom looked at me and she came in and she's like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "I can't do it anymore. I just can't." He said that I'm a piece of garbage, that I'm so ugly, I'm fat, I'll never be anything, nobody will ever love me, all the things. And my mom just looked at me and she said, "He's wrong." And I said, "Whatever, mom, like, whatever, you're supposed to say that, you're a mother, and she's like, "He's wrong." And I looked at her and I go, she goes, "What you don't know is that I couldn't get pregnant. I had cervical cancer and they took out part of my cervix and I wasn't able to get pregnant. And your dad and I were going to be truck drivers." And all of a sudden I realized, like, I was sick, I was sick, I was sick. I went to the doctor. Lo and behold, I'm pregnant. And she said, "They said you'll never carry it because you don't have part of the cervix. You won't carry it." 2 weeks late, 10 pounds, 4 ounces later, here comes Heather on this planet.
No,
And
miracle
my mom,
baby.
she looked at me and she said, "We've never been able to have children again. And we always wanted more. But God said, no, Heather needed to be here on this planet and it was only her. So don't tell me that that boy is right, because he's wrong."
Oh, wow.
And I looked at her and I said, "Okay, okay." And that one conversation changed everything for me. And he
Mm,
didn't stop bullying me. He doubled down,
mm.
he doubled down. And, he was the kind that I ended up one day just getting in a fight with him. I threw him up against the lockers and I was like, "I'm sick of you," and just lost my mind, which, nowadays I probably would have been in jail for. But thankfully, the dean, her daughter was my babysitter at the time, and she knew my character. And she
Hmm.
said, "What's going on? What happened?" And I said, "He's just been doing this to me for 3 years. I'm tired of it." So she put him in with the principal. And back then in the South, you got paddles for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he got paddled and he got his dad called and he came out and he looked at me and he goes, "It was worth it. I'll do it again." And looked at me straight in the face and continued on. And let me tell you something. That same guy, I Facebook stalked him about 10 years ago. So we're about 40 years later.
Hmm.
Tell me why that guy married an overweight blonde girl. Tell me why.
Because he loved you and he didn't know how to tell you. And he was attracted to you and he didn't understand why.
He didn't understand why. And I didn't understand that either. And so now I look at it and I'm like, wow, wow. I could have ended my life for this experience that wasn't even actually the truth.
Yeah.
But with that conversation with my mother, it changed everything.
I
And so
love
we
that.
need to have these hard conversations. We
Yeah.
need to have these conversations with each other that bring light to the darkness.
Absolutely. I was bullied as a child too, and they were twins. Lord bless them heart, and God rest one of them. The good one, the one that didn't harass me as much. he passed last year, but the one that was after me every single day, he said, I don't know why I picked at you. I don't know why. But now he always say, well, Halen, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of who you turned out to be. But I was a motherless child. And so growing up without the input of women, my dad was 50 years old when my mom died. And so he had never been a caretaker of children in his life. My dad was a player. He was not, what they say, player from the Himalayas. He was not he was not one to be taking care of some children. And she left him a whole slew of us.
Oh,
And he was doing the best he could to keep a roof and food, a roof over our heads and food on our plates and our clothes, clothing. And he didn't understand a little girl being picked on every day by this guy. And I didn't want to tell him that part, but that boy used to run me home. I'm talking about run me home. But then when we got to middle school, and we were like 3 or 4 miles away, I turned around and said, I'm not running from you anymore. I said, this is too far and I'm done. I'm no longer running. He didn't bother me another day after that.
see?
And like I've said today, but I was thinking, he's going to run you 3 miles? No, we can't.
And one conversation changed everything. That conversation with yourself that said, no more.
No
not
more.
today.
And
not today.
He looked at me and just, he didn't say a word and just turned around and walked off and never bothered me another day.
Yep. I believe it. And I will tell you, this is why I say one conversation can change your life. One conversation. And we can all have those moments in our lives where we look back and think, whether it's a conversation with yourself, with a friend, a family member, a stranger, those conversations matter.
They do matter. And so how do we get courageous enough to speak those words, right? Because I ran out of fear. Fear was taking over. Every time I saw him, my heart ran out of my chest and I took off running.
Yep.
But that one day in the 7th grade when I decided, you're not running 3 miles, baby. Not doing it. And like I said, I dressed because I didn't have a mom. And so I dressed like I didn't have a mom. I looked like I didn't have a mom because I didn't. And so it made me the target. Not everyone in that class bothered me, but he did. He singled me out.
Well, I always say there are 3 questions that we have to ask ourselves. And I think before we have any conversation with anybody, you have to have a conversation with yourself. And so a lot of people will say active listening. Well, you can't actively listen until you're clear with yourself first. I can't listen unless I'm clear with myself, because when I'm clear with myself, then I can listen and say, nope, that's not working for me, or that is a deal breaker for me, or I'm sorry, I can't accommodate you in that space because it goes against my integrity. Those kind of things I'm super clear about. So I always say 3 questions. Number 1, what am I wanting? So in that situation, you had a conversation, whether it was conscious or subconscious with yourself, that you said, what am I wanting? Am I wanting to keep running from this? Or am I just going to face it? Am I just going to say enough is enough? So you got super clear, super fast. No more. Not today. Not today. So you had that conversation, whether it was conscious or subconscious with yourself, if I'm not doing this anymore. Now, what's the energy I'm bringing to it? Am I going to say, please don't ever do this to me ever again? No, that's not the energy that's going to work. The energy is clear, bold, confident, and until I'm in that space, I can't have that conversation. So we do whatever that takes, whether you pray or you meditate or you sit quietly, but to be clear and to be put on your big girl panties and just puff up and get that courage and say, no, I got the courage. I'm standing up to this today. No more as of today. No more. And then what number 3 question is what's my inspired action? What am I going to do? My inspired action is I'm going to turn around. I'm going to look at him and say, not today, never again. Whatever you said, you were in alignment with it, with what you were wanting. You were in alignment with your energy about it. and you are in alignment with it, with your action. And when we
Definitely.
stand in that space in any conversation,
Mm,
then we get what we want. And
yeah.
people say to me, well, I didn't get what I wanted because what if he kept bullying like he did me? You don't have the power to change somebody else. We don't have the power or the control, but I can change my energy towards it. And from that point on, I looked at him, I go, not today,
Hmm.
not today. And he would do it, but my energy was clear, not today. Now yours just stopped on the dime. So I would venture to say probably you were more in alignment with your energy than I was in the moment of like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of him, but I'm still scared to do it, you know? But I don't know. But those three questions are the guiding questions I ask myself in any conversation before I have that conversation. Because if you go into a conversation mad, frustrated, annoyed, scared, nervous, unsure,
Mm.
that conversation's never going to be successful in your space. It will never work. Never
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And I don't, I again, I was like Rosa Parks. I just got tired. I just got tired of it. I just got tired of him chasing me and tired of him harassing me. And I just like, no, no more. And like I said, today I asked him, why did you do that? Why did you do that? He just looked at me and laughed. But I said, why did you do it? He said, oh girl, you were funny back then. But I was funny because I was odd. I've always been different. And learning now, our sixth grade picture, I am over on the right hand side, standing behind the shortest little boy in our class, where all the girls are beautiful and in the middle of the picture. I'm way over there by myself. And I said, I've been outstanding for life. I've
Yeah.
always been outstanding. And it's hard to fit in when you've been born to be outstanding.
And I heard somebody say, and I wish I would have remembered who said it in the quote, but it was something along the lines of you can either belong or you can be authentic.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh man, that's a brutal one. But
Yeah.
how many times do we agree to something that we don't want to do, but we're forced to do it?
Yeah.
How many times are we in the moment, even in excitement, when my friend says like, oh, let's go on that vacation and have a girls' weekend, and I'm like, yeah, and then I get home, I'm like, yeah, I don't really want that.
Yeah, I mean, the power of choice. That's what I label me after learning. At any point in my life, I could have said, "I don't want to go. I don't want to be. I don't want to do." And because I was going along to get along, a lot of people go along to get along. Like you can't imagine yourself without this person in your life, even though it's not authentically who you are.
Yeah.
And so I love that you help us to realign ourselves to our true intentions and our true essence of who we are.
Because only then can we really experience the magic of life where we feel invigorated and we're not
Mm.
held victim in a
Yeah,
space with other people.
yeah,
Like, you know, that's the main. When we're not victim, we shine, and we also give other people permission to do the same thing in that
absolutely.
space.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we bring this to a close, so what is the takeaway that you would like someone who's watching this interview to have?
The takeaway from this interview in particular is really this notion that we have the power within ourselves in every
Mhm.
single moment of every single day. And these three questions, if you take those three questions to heart, what am I wanting? What's the energy I'm bringing to it? And what's my inspired action? That can change your life. That
Yeah.
can change the experience of every conversation you have, even with a stranger. Like, sometimes I don't want to talk to strangers. And I'm like, okay, my energy is just, I'm in solitude right now. I just want to go and get this done. I will be kind and pleasant and move on. And lo and behold, people fall along in that space. They feel the energy and they're like, okay, have a great day. Sometimes I want to engage, but it's always about what I'm wanting. And
Yeah.
we think that that's a selfish space, but it's not selfish. It's
It,
it's not selfish.
it allows you to show up authentically, and it allows you to be true to who you are, like true to If I'm not feeling the vibe, I have a sister. My sister said I don't like to speak to people sometimes, but everybody wants to force you to speak, and I'm like, well, it's because that Southern training, it doesn't cost you anything to speak, and so a lot of people are raised that way, and that's why she gets that energy. I love that we've had this conversation. And I love that anyone who wants to reach out to you to continue this conversation are welcome to click any of the links that are on wherever they're watching this and join the conversation and continue the conversation from their own frame of reference, from their own, to find their own essence. Like being able to articulate how you feel is a superpower.
It is.
It's a
And
superpower.
it feels so good, and it allows other people to really see who you are and to align with the people in your life that are in that similar space, and not have the resentment, frustration, and anger for each other, and really see each other's greatness and beauty for who you are. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. You just tuned into the Business Plugs Mixer. We've had these love conversations with Heather Criswell, and I hope you will follow her, join her on the media pages that I put in the comments, and we'll have a great conversation again next on the Business Plugs Mixer. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.